Welcome, my friends. Yes, welcome to another episode of Nintendo Nightcap, bringing you all the latest Nintendo news, usually, but today, there's no news. It's just my opinions on that Nintendo Direct that everyone is going nuts about online. I've seen some insane reactions to this Nintendo Direct. What is going on? I think it was all right. I'll be honest, I think it was all right, but there were some negatives. I'm going to talk about the negatives first, and then I'm going to tell you why the Direct was actually pretty good and why the Switch 2 is in an excellent position going forward, and why we all need to calm down a little bit. So, my friends, let's start with the negatives because they're very obvious. Let's get them out of the way, and that has to be with Nintendo's obsession with sponging every last little penny out of its fans. Of course, I'm talking about the pricing of things like the amiibos. We saw a bunch of amiibos for $30, $40. We saw some Kirby amiibos for $50, friends, which is insane. I know you can pull them apart and mix and match, whatever, but $50 for little toys like this, it's insane. We saw the DLC for Donkey Kong coming in at $20, which in itself doesn't sound too bad, but apparently I haven't tried it myself, but a lot of people are trying the game or the DLC and saying it's quite empty, not much to do on the island. Now you add that $20 to the base game, $70, we're talking about $90 for that experience now. It's not great stuff from Nintendo, but we know they are always like this with their price and penny pinching, my friends. We've seen it with the Virtual Boy, something that I want to buy because I never got it back in the day. Of course, it was a huge flop, but to have that replica would be amazing. But how much would that set me back? $100, my friends. $100. Yes, I could buy the fake little cardboard one, but no one wants that. You'll want the main replica at $100 though. And don't forget, the games are on the online service, so you have to be a Nintendo Online member as well. So all of that kind of stuff is not good at all, right? This, it's what we've come to learn this from Nintendo, right? They're with their pricing, they can be very greedy. I love Nintendo. I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy, but I always call out their pricing because I've always thought they're out of control of their pricing. Now, that out of the way, there was another negative that hits me hard when I think about that Direct, and it's the constant or the weird way they're handling Metroid Prime 4. I don't know what is going on with that game. It seems like the hype is, up and down, up and down, up and down, and I don't think it's the game's fault. The game, I think, is going to be amazing. It's not Retro's fault. I think it's Nintendo's fault. I think the way they're handling this is so weird. Like, we've just been given a second Direct for Kirby, or we're going to get a second Direct before we've even heard about a specified centralized Direct for Metroid Prime 4, which needs it. The good news is that it's coming out in December and it looks amazing, right? And there's been a lot of talk online about the footage that we've seen in the desert with the bike, and that looks very empty and graphically not impressive. And I've got to remind you, it's a Switch 1 game. It's a Switch 1 game. I don't know what we're expecting. Now, keep in mind, as soon as you come off the bike and it turns into first person again, the game looks immense. It looks incredible, but it's a Switch 1 game that on the Switch 2 has had its assets polished up, rezzed up to 4K. It runs at 60 FPS, 120 in some forms. So, but it's not remade as a Switch 2 game. It's a Switch 1 game that is also running on the Switch 2 and it's been touched up. People need to remember that, and so the game, I still think it looks fantastic, but that trailer, I got to speak about it. It was so weird. It didn't hit me. It wasn't an impacting trailer. It didn't seem like an epic trailer. It just seemed that other than the bike stuff, which was cool to find out there is going to be that bike section that seemingly intersects between the worlds, right? I don't think the game's going to be open world. It's clearly going to be bits that are kind of interconnecting all the parts of the worlds that you're going to be visiting, right? So that's cool. But all the other footage, even though graphically I thought it looked amazing, was quite generic, footage. And I thought Nintendo could have come up with a much better trailer than that, for sure, right? And we got a date, awesome, and it's coming out this December, awesome. We don't have that long to wait, but again, the trailer left me a bit cold. It kind of just came and went. And then when it finished, we didn't get any extra information like we did with like Tomodachi or the Pokemon games or a bunch of other games where Kurozumi spoke about those games for a while afterwards. It was kind of just like the trailer came and it went. And that was it. Now, Am I worried? Not at all. The game still looks fantastic. I expect this game to score Metacritic in the mid to high 90s. This game is going to be fantastic. I'm happy that it's the holiday game. It sucks that it's going to miss the Game Awards. Not that I care about the Game Awards in that it needs it, but it adds to the conversation. And as we all know, the Metroid games struggle to sell more than 2-3 million. So it would have been nice if this game, which hopefully comes out the way we all think it's going to come out, would be involved in that Game of the Year conversation. And now that's out the window. Again, it comes out December 4th. Like, you can release it a couple of weeks before? I don't know. But anyway, for me, more or less, that was all the negatives in the Direct. Other than that, I kind of liked it. I didn't think it was amazing. I didn't think it was terrible. I gave it like a solid 7. Now, why do I think people need to calm the hell down? This is why, my friends. We saw a lot of cool stuff. Let's forget about the Mario stuff, Mario Anniversary stuff, because that speaks for itself. That alone, I would have gave it like an 8 probably out of 10. We saw news on the theme park. We saw a little teaser trailer to the movie. The fact that it's called Mario Galaxy Movie just sets off my imagination as to what we're going to see. Maybe they'll tie it in with a Mario Galaxy 3 game down the line. I don't know, but fine. We got that as well. As I said, theme park stuff. And we got Galaxy 1 and 2. And even though they're not complete remakes or highly, remastered, whatever, I'm glad we're getting them. We're getting them in 2 weeks. So all of that news, amazing. Now, in terms of the main show, we saw some pretty cool stuff. We got a massive showing of horror. We're going to talk about Resident Evil in a minute and what that means. But we got things like Fatal Frame 2 Remake. We got Little Nightmares 3. We got Resident Evil 7 and 8 coming on the same day as Resident Evil 9. We got Dragon Quest 7 Remake coming out. We got Hades 2 coming out like in a week from now. We got some Pokemon in there. We got loads of stuff, Now, there were a lot of third parties missing, right? Of course. Where was Ubisoft? I have no idea. We know Ubisoft has a bunch of games coming. We know that Assassin's Creed Shadows has been rated. We've heard various rumors of the other Assassin's Creed games coming. We know that Microsoft is bringing Call of Duty to the Switch too. So where was it? I don't know, but we know it's coming, so it's fine. It's in a 10-year contract, for God's sake. We know that Indiana Jones is coming. We know almost certainly that Doom Dark Ages is coming. These games are coming, and then now talking, as I said, about Resident Evil 9, that drop, right? That announcement is so important. I don't think people are realizing how important that announcement is. Not just for the fact that it's one of the biggest franchises out there. Not only for the fact that the game looks really good, and this is the worst we're ever going to see it look. Remember Star Wars a week, 2 weeks before it came out? It still looked okay. But by the time it released, man, the difference in improvements was insane. This is the worst Resident Evil 9 Requiem it's ever going to look on the Switch 2, and it looks pretty damn good already. But why is it important, except for the fact that it's Resident Evil 9? Day and date. It's day and date. Day and date. Resident Evil 9, day and date. We never saw that on the original Switch. This promises so much for games going forward. The next Resident Evil after that, hopefully day and date. The next Doom game in the future, hopefully day and date. The next Assassin's Creed, hopefully day and date. If we get GTA 6, it could be day and date. This promises so much. And as I said, we never got that on the original Switch. Now, people are panicking, there's nothing to play. The machine's 3 months old. It's 3 months old. If you had told me in the first 3 months, we're going to get their biggest selling franchise from the Switch, Mario Kart, as a launch title. A month after that, Donkey Kong Country Bonanza, the first 3D Donkey Kong since 1999 on the N64. We're going to get Metroid Prime 4 in the first 5 months of release as the holiday game. In amongst that, we're going to get games like Split Fiction, Star Wars Outlaws looking insane. We're going to get Pokemon games. We are getting insane games. We've just seen this early on, a Mario Tennis game. Like, Nintendo is dropping stuff all over the place. And then people are asking, yeah, but what are they showing people as reasons to buy the Switch 2? Exclusives. We get loads of exclusives. Are you looking across the pond at Xbox and PS5? Like, they're not filled with exclusives. They're not doing much this year. In fact, PlayStation, Sony is bringing forward the release of the PS6. So To say the Switch 2 is only 3 months old and all the stuff that we've seen already is insane. Except, again, Hades out in a couple of weeks. You know, we're getting some big stuff and we're going to get more in the future. And we've seen with the way that Nintendo seemingly now is allowing publishers to, you know, announce their own games. So we saw at the last awards just like weeks ago, we saw the announcement of Indiana Jones on the Switch 2. Right, so we're seeing publishers being able to release games and announce those games for the Switch 2s on their own terms. So I'm not worried at all. This Direct was fine. Another reason is because everything we saw from Nintendo is just from now until like March or April. They're not showing us games that are, you know, going to be released in 2-3 years' time. No, this is what we're getting from now until April, plus more. There's going to be more announcements that drop between now and March, April. So I think people need to just calm down, sit back, look at the bigger picture and realize the Switch 2 is fine. It's fine. They're going to get, you know, more games. We're going to get a bunch of more games on the Switch 2 going forward. Yes, we want to see what the next 3D Mario game is. Yes, we want to see what the next Zelda game is. Yes, we want F-Zero and Star Fox and I don't know, another Wave Race. I want my Pikmin 5. There's always things that we want. But this Direct was just fine. It gave me just enough for the next few months I'm going to play, and I'm expecting more from third publishers. And that's it. And we're going to get another Direct in February, and that's going to show the next year going forward. And we're going to get more announcements and more surprises. So I wouldn't worry at all, my friends. Of course, though, I want to hear what you guys thought. Am I overreacting? Was it indeed a 2 out of 10? Or was it a 10 out of 10? As I said, my friends, I give it a good 7. There was a lot of announcements in there that I liked, and a lot of them coming up very soon. So, my friends, there you go. Those were my thoughts on the Nintendo Direct. I thought it was pretty good. I give it a 7, not a 10, not a 2, a solid 7. I'm excited for a lot of the things that are going to be coming out in the weeks and months to come. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments below what you guys think. I will be having a podcast with some very special guests talking about what we thought of that Direct in more detail and Nintendo as a whole going forward from now. But until then, my friends, have an awesome day and I shall see you then. Bye.